Hi, and welcome to December 2024 Patreon rewards video. All right, so let's get to it. So I'm going to be sharing some of my old sketchbook, and this is the um, the time that I'm going to be showing you a lot of the work and things like that that I got from my concept art class that I took around 1997, 1998. One of the teachers being Paul Felix. I forgot who the other teacher was. But I'm going to share a lot of the handouts, a lot of the drawings, some of my notes, things like that from that sketchbook. So you're going to get all of that. I'm going to give you all of that, which is great. I'm actually really excited to share all this stuff with you. On top of that, I'll show you. I'll show you the other stuff that I'm going to be doing. This month's postcard is something that I did that was a lot of fun. So I'm very excited. Another thing I'm going to be doing. And I didn't do a whole lot of work. One of the things outside of my regular job, I didn't do a whole lot of anything dealing with personal work. So one of the issues that I'm having problems with recently is because, okay, so when I do my own drawings, I want to have fun. It's a hobby. It shouldn't be work. Problem is that I've already committed to doing the side work for my wife because she had a Kickstarter and she's doing an art book and she wants to have that storyboard that I've been working on. And the problem is that the storyboard is a lot of work and it feels like work. So anytime that I'm going to start doing it, I don't want to do it. And so it's one of those things where I should be doing my own personal stuff. The personal stuff I'm going to be doing is the storyboard. It feels like work. I don't want to do it. Right? That's the problem. That's the problem. I usually what I do when I do my own stuff, it's just for fun. I'm having fun, which is it's as bad as being burned out, right? Because it's the same kind of a feeling. Like when you're burned out, you don't want to draw because you're burned out. Well, now I do want to draw, but when I'm about to draw, I go, oh, I got to do that storyboard, and then I'm like, I don't want to do anything. So that really kills it. My wife said to pause the board, and she wants just some of the artwork done for the art book. It's an encyclopedia. It's an illustrated encyclopedia with all background characters and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do with that to speed up the process, because every illustration would take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a computer generate some images, and then I'm going to work off of that. That way, it's fast. The image generator is not going to do all the work. It can't. But because it does such a good job of kind of giving me a good foundation to start off with, to fix and play around with and just adjust, and I found that I could do an illustration in a day, in a few hours. Then it would usually take me a week. I could do it in a few hours because most of the work is already there. All I have to do is spend a few hours fixing and adjusting and making the image look. Basically, I just get away from the image generator jank, right? Like there's the image generation programs. They all look the same. They all look image generated. They all have that same look over and over and over. So what you've got to do is you got to go in there and then you change everything and give it a hand-drawn look so that it feels like a human being did it, and give it a point, because a lot of the stuff is just pointless, right? So you got to take what the image generator gives you as foundation, and then you give it a direction, you give it a point, like you fix it, you give it the human touch, so it doesn't look like it was just pooped out by a machine, because they all look like it's pooped out by a machine. So, and that requires some work, and it requires some skill. It doesn't require as much skill, but it requires skill, especially if you're going to redo stuff, because you got, and the worst thing you can do is to fix what the the image generator did, and then feed it back into the generator so they could screw it up again. That's the worst. That's like when you fixed it. Why you want to have the computer screw it up again? Like, it's like, what are you doing? Like that's dumb. Like the whole point is to have fixed what the computer couldn't do, right? Like, so okay. Anyway, I'll get off of that. So I'm gonna be doing that. So I'll share you with that. That maybe I'll even do a process video of some of that stuff. So because the whole point is I gotta do 25 illustrations. Like that has to, like, we have to like crank those suckers out, man. Like I don't have time to be just like, oh, my artistic. No, like, people are gonna look at it, they're gonna like the image. Okay, let's move on. Like, it's like, come on. All right, so I'm gonna do that, but let me go back to this. So let's start with this image here. So starting with here, this is just the way that in alphabetical order or whatever the computer's putting up here. We're starting with this. This is a sketch. I think the sketch was actually done in class. I forgot what it was, but he did this in class, and he was talking about doing these sketches. How to you know, they did an example of an environment, and unfortunately, this was done. It was a photocopy from a bad photocopy machine. So you really can't get the finesse of the values in it. But this is an exact copy scan of the bad photocopy that I got. So, but you can see that he was. The idea here is that here's the center of interest. You do this and you just sketch out the environment, and you'll see some of the sketches here. So let's keep moving so I could show you a little bit more of what's going on here. Oh. So this, by the way, I am giving you this paper doll. So Merry Christmas. It's December. This is my present to you that I didn't even do. This is a paper doll that you can put into, I highly recommend using a cardstock. You print it out on cardstock and you cut it out, and you can make this little paper doll that looks like this. And I didn't do this, my daughter did this. So this is my daughter's paper doll. By daughter, I don't mean that she's like a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old. This is my 19-year-old daughter's paper doll. She took she had a Photoshop ROP class that she took 2 years ago when she was still in high school. So she was 18 when she did it. It was an ROP class that it was Photoshop, and this is one of the projects that she did, and I thought it was so cool looking that I decided to share it with you guys, and I kept forgetting to do so, so it's a year late, but here it is. Merry Christmas. You could have this paper doll that my daughter had made. So, hooray. All right, so here's the sketch from Paul Felix. Paul Felix, I'm not sure if he's still at Disney, but he's a concept artist at Disney. He worked on Tarzan. That was around the time that I was taking this class. Tarzan was about to come out, or had just come out. So these are some of the sketches that he did. So this sheet of paper is the size. It's a sheet of paper that's about yay big. And this is the paper that was used at Disney for storyboard artists. So the storyboard artists would have these sheets of paper, and they would do their sketches, and then they would post the sketches on. They would pin the sketches on an actual board. So it was an actual storyboard with these sheets of paper pinned on it in sequence, and then they would point to them and pitch their boards. Back in the day, that was the way that it was traditionally done. And so Paul Felix had a bunch of these scrap papers that he got from Disney, and so he brought those pieces of paper to sketch in the concept art class that he was teaching, and then he would sit down and he was talking about this stuff. So these are his sketches as he was talking about horizon lines. So in this he's talking about hanging things on the horizon line. This is something that I've spoken about in some videos, I believe, definitely in some classes in the Art of Drawfu course 2 that I have not released at the time of this recording. Maybe in the future I will. But I do talk about this, hanging things in the horizon line, which means that this horizon line, this eye line here, if the line is crossing this foot at the ankle, that means that as the further you go, it also has to cross at the ankle. And the further, even if it's further down, it also has the horizon line has to cross at the ankle. That's the idea. So, and then, low angle, you're looking up at things. Right here, you're right across here. This is a person. If the horizon line is crossing at the knees, the horizon line crosses at the knees, even though the person's farther away. And then there you can start measuring the size of things. Here's the size of a so you shrink the person. You're drawing a house, you shrink the person, get the size relationship right. Now you could actually draw a building and have the right size for a door. So that's kind of like what was going on here. This cross is just trying to find the center line of a box. So that's what that line is. So that's what these sketches were all about. This is the same. I just put them all side by side. There were just 3 strips that I put side by side here. So here's some sketches of some cats. I don't remember exactly why he was drawing the cats at this point. But you could see they're beautiful little storytelling kind of things. I think he was talking about breaking up the picture plane, putting things in the foreground to add interest, breaking up things, breaking up the shapes, adding black shapes and things like that, so that there's some kind of interaction. It feels good here. Some perspective drawings here. A cat going across the rooftop. Another shot of the cat going across the rooftop here. I think this is just more of hanging things on the horizon line. Here's the foot, so you can see the ankle. Just some perspective drawings. Here's a far shot with the horizon line here. Here's the same horizon line in the same place, but now bigger shapes, right? In space, you're drawing poses in space, so you have to think of characters and figures within boxes so that you could understand that there's dimension, right? Let's see, let me flip this over. Okay, so these are just drawings. Perspective. You're even when you're dealing with circular stuff that isn't boxy, you draw them within boxes and you draw the circle inside the box, and it still has dimension. That's really what's going on here. And then the ellipses actually explain the dimension of a thing. And even when it comes to rounded things, you have that same kind of idea. You have the same perspective, but you're adding dimension with arcs, and arcs are a little bit trickier. But I think that was the idea behind these drawings. Here's some more. Let's see. So here's some room sketches. I'm not gonna be able to explain all of these because I don't exactly remember exactly what it was. I think that he was just showing you how to break up shapes and break up environments. But really, the thing is, these drawings are awesome. These drawings are amazing. I just absolutely love these drawings. Let's flip over here. Let's zoom in here. Oh, right. So this is him, Paul Felix, fixing up some drawings. So I had a drawing that I was doing. It was a Pegasus. It was a steampunk thing. So there's the Pegasus. There's a guy on the Pegasus. There was a giant steam-powered robot, and it was kind of like a fight between them, and I it's somewhere. My personal drawing, the one that's in there, it's in a folder somewhere. I totally didn't. I don't have the example of what it is that he's fixing here, but he's making adjustments to my composition and adding a lot more variety, a lot more interesting shots here, saying like, okay, you got to really work on the background environment, like really study it, having details on on statues, making sure that the statues are well designed. Here's some alternate compositions and angles for this. But yeah, so these are sketches that he did for me, just to give me more ideas and better compositions on my original idea that I was showing him, that I turned in as an assignment. So yeah, these are just so cool, man. Like, I just love looking at this work because it's just like, look how amazing this guy is. All right, so this is this month's postcard. So this I'm gonna upload the video of making this postcard. By the way, the winner of this postcard is Andy. Andy, you won this postcard. Once again, I think this is the second time you've won, maybe the third time. Andy is a co-worker of mine. He's a character layout on The Simpsons now. He started off as a in production, and then he took the character layout test, and he passed the character layout test, and then he started getting work as a character layout artist. So congrats, Andy. He's actually a friggin' really good artist. So, but he won. He also supports me on Patreon, so I'm giving him the postcard. All right. This postcard, I'll show you the video. But it was there was no underdrawing. All I did was, you'll see, I just went with a brush, and then it was controlled chaos. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. When you see the video, I'll explain the whole process, but this is this month's postcard. So keep your eye out for the video. All right, so here's my notes for the concept art class. Let's see. So it says combining two horizon line, fisheye, real hard, right to look. Okay, so yeah, so this is how you do a fisheye. You have a horizon line here, you have a vanishing point here, vanishing point over here, vanishing point here, vanishing point over here, and then horizon lines all the way across, and then that's how you do a fisheye look. Don't divide it in half. So don't just divide a composition in half. So here's the example of not dividing it in half. Here's the example of dividing it in half, so that you can see that it's much more interesting if you do not divide it in half than if you do. The only time that you do want to divide it in half is if you're doing an icon. Like if you're doing something that is very, you're not necessarily doing a cinematic, realistic thing. You're doing something that's a little bit more of an icon, sometimes a religious thing, or something that is resembling something religious, or if it's just a symbol, right? That's usually the times that you want to do everything straight and everything is divided perfectly and evenly. But here's some examples of just doing horizon line, vanishing points, perspective stuff. This again is going to be in my second drawing course. I talk about this stuff. But you could also see it in some of the stuff in my website, thedrawingwebsite.com, and level 1 stuff. I talk about that there too. Casts are darker. Cast shadows are darker than form shadows. Its edge is also crisper. Okay, so I'm just giving you a note about cast shadows. Cast shadows being the shadow on the wall is a cast shadow. I don't there you can see it. it's supposed to be uh, cast shadows are darker than form shadows. So it should be cast shadows are darker than form shadows. Form shadows are the soft transitional shadows that you see in figures. Isolate your first values. Okay, yeah. So the idea being isolate your first values. This is an example of isolating your first values. There's only two values here, black and white. You isolate them, and then you're able to, if you could just get the shadows, just shadow patterns to be completely isolated and still read, you got it right. The rest is gravy. Like the rest, you could render the hell out of it as long as you keep the separation of values clear without messing them up with your midtones. Then you're solid. You got it all right. I think I'm talking about here because we're talking about values here. And I think there was a value study here. There was something going on here. And this here is finding the center line. So here's this line here, and then I drew a line here, and then I drew a cross, and then I drew this line. That's the middle of this. Then I drew a cross and a cross here, and then that's another one that's middle here. So I'm just drawing, finding the midlines in these things. That's what these exercises were. Okay, and drawing space here, same thing, but on the ground. Cross, 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 cross. But you can see I'm on the ground here. Okay, not important. Make the same. Not important. Not important, make the same. So if something is not important, you could have it be repetitive. You could have it be the same, right? If it's not important, it could have the same value as everything else, okay? Think contrast, draw the eye. So wherever you want the eye to be drawn, that's where it's the most contrasted. Where you don't want the eye to be, everything is kind of samey. Perspective draws the eye, angles draw attention. So wherever there's angles and things coming together, that's where your eye was going to go. That's what I'm saying here. Simple value, 3 values. So, okay, so it's again, this is actually 2 values. Okay, a third value would be a light gray. So you start with 2 values, add a third. 3 values is fine. I tend to prefer 2 just because it's clearer. But draws attention. Oh, but actually, I guess I'm lying. The red is the third value, right? The red is the third value. We have the white, the black, and the red. The red is acting like a gray, a light gray, right? So this is 3 values right here. So 3 values. Ask. Draw attention to it or away. So what should I add? So you should ask yourself, am I drawing attention to this bit, or am I drawing attention away from it? I want the eye to look. Where do I want the eye to look? Yeah. So those are the questions that you should ask yourself when drawing something in composition. That's the concept art ideas here. Dark is dark, light is light. I will go there. Okay? So the darkest dark place and the lightest light place, your eye will go there. Where is that? That is right here in the face, because that's the darkest dark and the lightest light. Everything else is dark and against light and everything like that, right? But everybody's eyes will go here because this is kind of like the part where it's all kind of pointing to anyway. Okay, most contrast here. Where I want to be, where travel. Okay, so notice the rhythms in the lines and tones. So the lines that you draw also, when you're drawing in perspective and things like that, all these are swirling around and stuff like that. This is actually, if you're part of my Patreon, I released all the videos for my course, my second course. I just dropped them all there. You could watch all of them. The problem with that is that they're super inconvenient to watch one at a time because they're spread out throughout months and months and months. So once I release the actual course, they'll be all nice and orderly. And also there's a bunch of downloads that I never put into Patreon that I was supposed to, because I don't have them actually. I still have to create the downloads, the PDFs and things like that. In fact, somebody asked me about them, and I didn't even have them because I thought I did and I didn't. So now I got to recreate them. It's a pain in the neck, but. So rhythms here. Later add detail of the lead to one or both areas as a unit. Okay, most contrast. So you could add the details later. First, do the main thing, and then you could add details later. Any tonal changes you make when adding local colors shouldn't take away from the original tone. So any tonal changes. So when adding color, you want to keep the values of the color to be consistent with the black and white values that you created. So this is something that that took a long time for me to learn. But what colors equal what value? So, for example, a yellow, the darkest yellow will never be darker than a light gray. So a light gray and a dark yellow are about the same value. So, but a dark blue can be a very dark gray, like a dark, almost black, right? Same with a red. A red can also be the value could also almost be as black. And then when you combine the red, like a dark red, almost a brown, again, that's another dark gray. And then you put a really dark blue with a brown or a number, then you've got black. So you have to know what colors equal what value, and then you're able to, when you're translating a black and white value study, and then you're adding color to it, and you want to keep the values consistent, you need to know what colors equal what value, and that's tricky because you got to learn that the hard way. Like you have to do it. You have to maybe turn off, like with Photoshop, paint something and then turn off the color and see it in black and white to see what what's what. But there's charts. I think I've shared them before, like some charts with some people that gives you about the same idea. There's some interesting stuff there. Maybe I'll talk about that some other time. One tone dominant. Okay, one tone dominant. Okay, that's simple. What's the dominant tone? What is there more of? What value is there more of? What tone is there more of? Oh, white. White is the dominant tone, right? There's more white than there is black, and there's more white than there is gray. So that's the dominant value is white. And then these are some sketches, some storytelling sketches that I did for a drawing that I don't believe I ever finished. Yeah, there was like a kind of a fight going on some buildings, and I was trying to do this as for compositional stuff and some ideas for like dynamic, interesting, exciting things here. Like, oh right, because before I did the giant robot, I was gonna do something else. Like here's like a flying thing, and this guy got shot in the face. It was like some kind of demon or something. They were fighting a demon or something. I forgot what it was. It was forever ago. So that didn't kind of go anywhere. Oh, here, and then it became a robot. Yeah, that's how it developed. And then it became the robot. So I think I was trying to draw monster, and it was fantasy steampunk, and it eventually became a robot. But there were some ideas on a rooftop, stuff like that. Some more of that. Okay. And I think this was in the class. I was sketching some of my fellow students. Opposites and rhythm. So just talking about contrast, rhythms, opposites, contrasting S curves, C curves, that sort of thing. Vanishing points where action takes place, okay? Outside shapes first, okay? Outside shapes first. Sometimes what that means is just that there's maybe the what's called the negative space, the negative shapes. Sometimes that helps give you the context. Two shapes that work, maybe three. Keep textures in halftones, back, forward, up and down. Shapes, side, top, bottom. So shapes should have sides, tops, and bottoms so that you could understand the dimensions of a shape. Two shapes that work, maybe three. Okay, so what that means is that when you're doing a composition, you're trying to draw a big shape that contains the center of interest. This is where like composition becomes very abstract, like an abstract, modern abstract drawings where you just see a bunch of people drawing boxes and shapes and things like that. Well, you're sort of kind of doing that at first, and then you draw something representational within. So that's and you do that with one dominant, maybe two shapes put together, and then you draw the composition within. Keep textures in halftone. Okay. Oh, right. Okay, because so when something transitions between black and white, when you are in shadow, sometimes you see in shadow you see nothing but black, and when something is getting hit by light with an extreme light, then it tends to get washed, right? All the detail gets washed. So what happens is that what you end up seeing is the details are in the halftones right here. Like the halftones is where you start seeing the details. Okay? That's what that means. See, I'm using this stuff even to this day, like a conversation in part. Conversation. I have no idea what the hell that means. Okay, try not to have elements that echo picture plane. Right. So anything that is breaking up the picture plane. So the picture plane is the frame. It's the sheet of paper. It's the sheet of paper. Right? This is the picture frame, the sheet of paper. So when you draw something on a sheet of paper, what you want to do is make sure that you don't have anything that echoes the picture plane. You want to break up the picture plane. You want lines to be across or diagonal. Try not to have too much stuff echo the picture plane. Be parallel to the picture plane. Here's an example of how to get shadows to work. So here's the thing. You go up here, boom, and then you draw a line here, and that's how you have the cast shadow, and that's how you measure where the cast shadows should be. That's really technical. I never use this ever. Like I never do that. It's just way too technical. I just eyeball it. If you have static, but if you do need it, absolutely need to be precise, then this is how you do it. If you have static, use shadows. If you have static use, I don't know what that means. Okay, and yeah, just like again, vanishing points, horizon lines, just drawing this very technical stuff. Cup, I don't know exactly what I was doing here. I forgot what this was. This is Paul Felix. This is my sketch of the teacher, Paul Felix. So I drew him in this sketchbook here. And then this is the other teacher that we had. So we had two teachers in that concept art class. Both of them, Paul Felix worked at Disney as a concept artist. He worked at Disney Feature. He worked on Disney Television. He was a better teacher than Paul Felix. Paul Felix was a superior artist. He was absolutely phenomenal artist. He was just, but the problem with Paul Felix is that he was a very intuitive artist. And intuitive artists don't know how to teach anything because they're very intuitive, right? So it just comes to them. They follow their intuition, and they're able to just perceive it. They don't know how it's done. This guy was not as good like me. So that means that you have to think about it way more. You got to break it down into pieces until you're able to understand it. And then you do it. And then it becomes intuitive only after you've solved it in your head, right? Like you have to solve the problem in your head first. You got to go through all the process. You got to go through all the mechanics. And then it makes sense. And then little by little, it starts to become intuitive. It starts to become second nature. It just starts happening. So you could reach the level of Paul Felix, but it takes longer to do because you have to think about it. And a lot more people are like me than Paul Felix, right? The Paul Felix types are a little bit more rare, and they're the guys that are like, oh, look at that. Those guys have talent, right? And that's why I often say that, yeah, there is some people who are intuit that stuff. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people who have to struggle and still can draw because they have to think about it a little bit more and work at it. Like me, you could do it. You could do this. You could do the drawing thing as long as you're able. As long as you learn it in a different way than those people who are a little bit more intuitive about it. Okay, so these drawings are on tracing paper. And I believe that these drawings are not pencil drawings. I think they are Prismacolor black. So it's Prismacolor on tracing paper. And we were practicing drawing Prismacolor on tracing paper, and we're drawing values. We were doing value studies here. And the reason why you draw a Prismacolor on tracing paper or vellum rather than on regular sheets of paper is because Prismacolor erases on vellum and tracing paper, which is fantastic, right? No C. I don't remember. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. So, so here's the direction of the light coming down here. At some point in one of the later videos where courses that I'll put out, I'll start talking about values. What is it? HL. HD, C. Not sure exactly what that is. Here in shadow, you have these three values, and then they're darker on the shadow side. I think that's what that was all about. Here's the opposite side. So this tracing paper was folded in half. So it's been folded in half in my sketchbook, so that's what. So on the opposite side is this, so you can kind of see the kind of a ripped tracing paper here, and then you can see the other side over here, and then you flip it over, and that's on the other side of the tracing paper that was folded in half. And I'm just doing value studies here. There's a person here. This is the value study. So I do this sort of thing all the time now. Like this is these value studies where you're just trying to to point the eye to certain areas. So these are just experiment studies. How do you work with three values to create shapes so that you're telling a story in space, right? So that's what this is all about. And that's it. Those are the sheet, the papers, that I'm giving out this month for you to have. So yeah, that's the December rewards. I hope this video has been helpful. This is one of the videos that I was actually very excited to do when I got to this part of my sketchbook, because of all the handouts, because of all the notes, because of all the interesting information that was in here. Yeah, like, and then you get all these really cool Paul Felix sketches, which is just the coolest, guys. And you get, oh, here, look at this beautiful thing here, man. Like, it's just like, just to look at the sketch, it's so cool. And then of course you get my daughter's paper doll to boot. So it's a good rewards month. So all right, thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for your support. You guys are still supporting me. This is so good. I'm so grateful that you guys have supported me all these years and all this time. And I hope that this has been good rewards for you. So thank you again, and I will talk to you next time. All right, bye. So I'm happy to announce that I now have a new drawing lesson called Drafu Guide to Sketching and Gesture Foundations. It's the beginning of the level 2 information that people have been asking me for the drawing website, which will teach you where to start drawing, what to draw when you draw, how to draw from observation, how to draw from imagination, how to draw what you envision, and how to discover what you ought to envision if you don't have anything specific in mind. So if you find any of this interesting, you could follow the link that you see, or you can go to thedrawingwebsite.com, look under level 2, and you'll find a link there.